Ever wondered how certain behaviors and attitudes, often labeled as manly, can be harmful not just to individuals but to society as a whole? Welcome to our discussion on toxic masculinity, a term that is often misunderstood and misrepresented. Toxic masculinity refers to a set of attitudes and behaviors that society traditionally ascribes to men, which are harmful and destructive. It's a restrictive and harmful idea that promotes domination, devaluation, and violence. This not only affects women who are often on the receiving end of such attitudes, but it also hurts men by confining them within a rigid set of expectations. These behaviors and attitudes are learned, not innate. They are perpetuated by societal norms and expectations that dictate how a real man should behave. But remember, these traits don't define masculinity. They are toxic, harmful, and destructive. Let's delve into some of the common traits of toxic masculinity. First on the list is the disrespect and objectification of women. This is a prevalent issue, deeply rooted in the culture of toxic masculinity. It presents women not as individuals with their own thoughts, feelings, and rights, but as mere objects, trophies to be won, or possessions to be owned. This mindset not only dehumanizes women, but also fosters a culture of entitlement and domination, where men feel they have the right to control, objectify, and disrespect women. It's a dangerous cycle that perpetuates inequality and violence. We need to remember that respect, dignity, and equality are universal rights, not gender-specific privileges. Women deserve the same courtesy, respect, and consideration that we afford to men. Let's strive to challenge and change these harmful attitudes. It begins with recognizing women as equals, as human beings with dreams, aspirations, and feelings, just like men. Remember, respect is not gender-specific. Moving on, we have the suppression of emotions and vulnerability. This aspect of toxic masculinity is deeply ingrained in our societies and cultures. From a young age, boys are taught that real men don't cry, creating a stigma around emotional expression. This belief system not only suppresses their emotions, but also discourages them from seeking help when they're struggling. We often hear phrases like "man up" or "don't be a sissy," which mock any form of vulnerability, equating it to weakness. But contrary to this misbelief, vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It's a strength. It takes courage to open up, to express feelings, to admit when things are tough. Suppressing emotions and mocking vulnerability doesn't make one strong or manly. It only leads to psychological distress and hinders the development of healthy relationships. And let's remember, every human being has the right to feel, to be vulnerable, to express emotions. Emotions are not a sign of weakness but a part of being human. Next, we have bullying and avoidance of responsibilities. In the world of toxic masculinity, bullying often becomes a tool of power. This power play is used to put others down, to feel superior. It's a twisted game where the one who can hurt others the most, often emotionally, is deemed the strongest. But strength is not about causing pain. It's about fostering growth, understanding, and compassion. And then, there's the avoidance of responsibilities. Toxic masculinity often shies away from tasks perceived as traditionally feminine. From changing diapers to doing the dishes, these tasks are shrugged off as unmanly. This kind of thinking not only reinforces harmful stereotypes, but also shirks the shared responsibilities that come with being part of a family, a community, a society. The truth is, responsibilities and respect are not defined by gender. They are defined by our actions, our willingness to contribute, and our understanding that every role matters. Responsibilities and respect are not defined by gender. Let's now look at violence, homophobia, and belittling others. A common thread in toxic masculinity is the encouragement of violence as a means to solve problems. Instead of promoting dialogue, understanding, and peaceful resolution, the narrative is skewed towards physical aggression. This not only creates a hostile environment, but also fosters a culture where emotional intelligence is undervalued. Equally harmful is the promotion of homophobia, often rooted in a narrow and stereotypical understanding of what it means to be a man. This not only marginalizes and discriminates against individuals based on their sexual orientation, but also reinforces harmful stereotypes. Moreover, belittling others, particularly by making fun of their insecurities, is another toxic behavior. It's a way to exert dominance and create a power dynamic where one person feels superior at the expense of another's self-esteem. These behaviors are not just harmful, they are destructive, spreading negativity and causing emotional trauma. Understanding and empathy can go a long way in reducing these toxic behaviors. Moving forward, we have control, lack of empathy, and objectification of self. A hallmark of toxic masculinity is the need to assert control and dominance over others. This often manifests itself in manipulation and emotional abuse, tactics used to exert influence and maintain power. Simultaneously, there's a profound lack of empathy. The feelings and experiences of others are dismissed and devalued, often in favor of one's own self-interest. This lack of empathy can lead to a disregard for the emotional well-being of those around. Lastly, there's the objectification of self. Individuals are conditioned to measure their self-worth based on physical appearance, not on their character or achievements. This can lead to an unhealthy obsession with maintaining a certain image or physique, often at the expense of one's mental and emotional health. In conclusion, it's vital to shift away from these destructive norms. It's important to value oneself and others for who they are, not what they look like. Next on our list is ignorance of mental health and racist attitudes. Toxic masculinity often involves a dismissive stance towards mental health, generating harmful stigmas. This ignorance can lead to misdiagnoses, untreated conditions, and an overall lack of understanding. It's not uncommon to hear phrases like "man up" or "real men don't get depressed" echoing around, perpetuating the idea that men should simply ignore or suppress their emotional pain. Simultaneously, toxic masculinity can also cultivate racist attitudes. It breeds a culture of discrimination and superiority based on race, fostering an environment where intolerance and prejudice thrive. It's a mindset that attempts to rank the worth of individuals based on their skin color, ethnicity, or cultural background, which is not only morally wrong, but also incredibly damaging. These facets of toxic masculinity are not just harmful, but destructive, affecting individuals and societies alike. We need to emphasize the importance of acknowledging mental health issues and promoting racial equality. Mental health matters, and so does equality. Let's discuss stifling ambitions, avoiding personal growth, and refusing help. In the grip of toxic masculinity, one can become a roadblock to others' aspirations. It's a misguided attempt to maintain dominance, to push others down while lifting oneself up. Yet, this approach is not just harmful to others but to oneself as well. Avoiding personal growth is akin to refusing to evolve, to learn, to become better. It's a defense mechanism, a way to shield oneself from the discomfort of change. However, staying stagnant is not an option in a world that constantly moves forward. Then comes the refusal to seek help. It's a false notion that real strength lies in facing challenges alone. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but rather an acknowledgement of one's limitations and a willingness to learn and grow. Growth and help are not signs of weakness but of strength and wisdom. Moving on, let's talk about gaslighting, unrealistic masculinity standards, and dominating conversations. Gaslighting is a manipulative tactic often employed to make others doubt their reality. It's a form of psychological control that can lead to severe emotional distress. This is particularly harmful when the person being gaslighted is already grappling with the unrealistic standards of masculinity that society often imposes. These standards, which can include unattainable body images or the suppression of emotions, can lead to feelings of inadequacy, isolation, and self-doubt. Moreover, the tendency to dominate conversations is another facet of toxic masculinity. This behavior, which often involves talking over others or dismissing their opinions, can prevent open, balanced dialogue. It can lead to a lack of understanding, empathy, and respect in interactions. Remember, no one should feel pressured to conform to unrealistic standards, nor should they be made to question their reality. Communication is a two-way street, and everyone's reality is valid. Finally, we have spreading hate and the need to challenge toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity often manifests itself as an intolerance for those who are different, leading to the spreading of hate. This could be because of someone's race, sexuality, or simply because they don't fit into the rigid box that society has labeled as manly. This intolerance breeds hostility and division, creating an environment where respect and understanding struggle to thrive. But it doesn't have to be this way. It's time to challenge these harmful behaviors and attitudes. It's time to redefine what it means to be a real man. A real man respects others, regardless of their differences. A real man encourages emotional openness, shows empathy, and recognizes the value of personal growth. A real man stands against hate and promotes unity. Toxic masculinity harms everyone. It's time to redefine what it means to be a real man and promote a healthier version of masculinity.